Look at the papers this morning. Dr. Mohammed Iqbal, President of Bradford's Ahmadiyya Muslim Association. Dr. Iqbal, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, what have you spotted in the papers? Get a wee bit closer to the mic, if you would. What have you spotted in the papers this morning?
Well, I think the first feature is really in relation to the Pope's visit.
Indeed, the Independent.
Everybody's talking about it from the Independent. The other papers have covered it as well, but the Independent's sort of done a lot of detail. As with much of the media coverage, it's quite cynical, unfortunately, which has surprised me, actually, with this visit, because I remember the previous Pope's visit, and it was
a completely different atmosphere, wasn't it? Totally different atmosphere. I mean, as a religious leader yourself, if I can say so, what's your take on the Pope's visit?
Well, I think it's difficult for any religious leader at the moment, given the sort of developments we have in a secular society. But I think he's had a particularly bad deal on this one. Clearly, there are issues around child abuse, etc. But I think you also have to focus on the good things the Church does as well, and the Pope's probably done. But at the moment, I think they're under the spotlight with the child abuse and all of the things that are going on, and his stance, obviously, on homosexuality, etc.
And people would expect maybe more. I know the Independent, which is the paper you've been looking at, expects more in the way of penitence from the Pope, you know, that he makes some sort of statement. I mean, he probably will. Do you think he will?
I don't know. I mean, this Pope's quite conservative, and understandably, he's the leader of a massive, global community. And in such a large community, people do make mistakes. And whether he has to end up apologising for some of those, I don't know. It's his call. But I think, the leader of the Catholic Church in this country, I saw the interview yesterday, he apologised for some of the wrongs that had been done. But whether the Pope will do, I don't know.
A story that I've briefly spotted, but I didn't read all the details, but I think is fascinating. This is a woman who went to bed with a headache and woke up speaking French. Tell us a bit more about that one.
Well, I think that's really fascinating because I'm a migraine sufferer as well. And yesterday I had an awful migraine. God knows how my accent changed, but that is quite amazing. Clearly, a lot of people suffer with migraine, more so women than men, and it can be really, really nasty. Yeah. And she's one of these rare cases, 60, I think, or so cases that have occurred.
There's been a few recently, hasn't there? I think somebody woke up speaking with a Geordie accent, and somebody woke up speaking... Usually it's not so much migraine, it's sort of a knock on the head, and somebody woke up speaking German, I think.
How bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
It can do weird things to your circulation.
Yeah. What do you do when you have one of these migraines? Do you have to close all the curtains?
I mean, there are decent medications you can take for the immediate. There's prophylaxis as well, and I do take prophylaxis as well, but yesterday was bad.
Yeah. Oh, thanve you for... you seem okay now. You seem well.
I'm much better today.
Yeah.
And no sign of a different accent this morning. So that's always...
And you've been looking at the George Michael... Yes, you've been looking at the George Michael story, which is a big one in most of the papers.
I have, and again, it's a tragic case, really. George Michael's produced some fantastic songs over the years, and he's been idolised by so many youngsters. And I think it's tragic, really, that he may be remembered for some of the wrong things and the bad things that he does, and increasingly is getting himself into more and more trouble. And, people like him are role models for young people, and I think he should do better. Yeah,
well, he doesn't seem to learn, does he? The thing is, even now, he's been sent to prison, and he said, I can't believe this has happened to me. I mean, how many times does he think he's going to do this kind of thing and not get punished for it?
Well, this is I think it's really sad for somebody like him to go down, and there's a lot of others as well who are getting into problems, to be honest, and it's sad when they finish their careers like that, having done so much good for
well,
he's
music. Still active though. I mean, he's not even finished his career. He's still making music as far as I know.
He is, but I think he's on the way down, unfortunately.
Well, he's been sent down, so he's on the way down. Sadly, happily actually, Andrew Ridgeley is keeping his nose clean, and he's not in any trouble at all.
No.
He's living a blameless life, making pottery in the West Country, so that's maybe the way to do it. You're going to look at some more stories for us later on, aren't you? He's coming back after 8 o'clock. Our guest newspaper this morning, Dr. Mohammed Iqbal, looking at more stuff from the papers after 8 this morning. It's 2 minutes now to 8 o'clock. Mohammed Iqbal, President of Bradford's Ahmadiyya Muslim Association. What else have you spotted? There's a lot of stuff about the difference between public pay and private private pay in the public sector, pay in the private sector.
Yes, quite a few of the main sheets have covered that. And this one, for example, in the Daily Mail says state workers get £136 a week more than private employees in pay and pensions. Now, I work in the private sector, and I was quite gobsmacked by that. I thought the private sector always earned more.
Yeah, I think they've added in sort of pension entitlements.
Yeah, they have. But still, I mean, with both contributions, they say that public sector workers would get something like 615 a week when you add the two together, compared to 479 a week for the private sector. And given the stance of the TUC at the moment in relation to the cutbacks of the coalition governments, again, this is very, very topical and hot stuff.
It is. It's obviously they've got an agenda, papers like the Daily Mail and the Daily Telegraph, which also covers the same story. Myth of the underpaid public worker is the lead in the Telegraph this morning. It's the same story.
One that I wanted to talk about, which I think you've spotted as well, is Nobby Stiles in the papers today, selling his World Cup winners medal, isn't he?
I think that's really sad. You know, I came to this country in '67, and obviously that year was followed with the success. And you know, he was a great player, and the team as well. There were some greats as well. And having to sell his World Cup medal, I think it's really, really sad. When you think the players in this day and age are getting hundreds of thousands per week, you know, and this poor guy is having to sell this. And surprisingly, the feature also says 7 others have also sold.
They have sold in the past. George Cohen, I think, sold his medal as well.
Yeah. There's only the likes of Sir Bobby Charlton who've kept it, and his brother, and just 1 or 2 others. But I think that's tragic, really.
Exactly, that it's happened.
Wish they could play, the current ones could play as well as they did.
Yes, indeed. And Tony Blair still in the papers. What have you spotted about him this morning?
Well, I mean, that was a real surprise. A number of the papers' main sheets have covered that, and it was in the TV as well. He's, believe it or not, got a Peace Prize, and obviously from the US, because he tends to go there to earn his millions. And Bill Clinton presented this Peace Prize, which is surprising given the reaction he's had, to his book and what he's done over the last few years, really.
Well, Dr. Kissinger did win the Nobel Peace Prize shortly after the Vietnam War. So people, I can't remember who it was Gore Vidal who said irony is now dead because they gave Dr. Henry Kissinger, who's way before your time, you wouldn't remember Henry Kissinger, he was Secretary of State in America during the Vietnam War.
Yeah, well, I think Blair's probably going to have to move to the States because the reaction he's getting here is quite...
He's more popular over there than he is here.
Yes.
That's true. Dr. Iqbal, thank you ever so much for coming and looking at the papers for us. Do appreciate it. Dr. Mohammed Iqbal.